What's up, Eagles fans? Welcome into the All-22 review driven by AAA. I'm Fran Duffy, joined by NFL Film senior producer Greg Cosell. Eagles are going to the playoffs. Huge win down in D.C. against the Washington Redskins. The Chicago Bears taking care of business in Minneapolis, taking care of the Minnesota Vikings. Eagles, Bears, next weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that matchup. But first, let's take a look at all three touchdowns from the Eagles win today down in Washington. We'll start with Nick Foles to Alshon Jeffery. And Greg, when you look at this passing game to start the game, really a lot of short stuff, some intermediate throws, but really a lot of quick game to kind of get Nick Foles into a rhythm. 13 straight completions at one point in this first half. But let's take a look now at the touchdown to Alshon Jeffery late in the second quarter. How exactly did they get into the end zone?
Yeah, this was a well-designed play because when all's said and done, it's a very basic route concept, two-man route concept to the boundary, a flat 7 combination. But the Eagles got to it in kind of an interesting way. Let's start with the alignment right now, the formation. Alshon Jeffery is split out as number 1 to the trip side, and then you have Aguilar inside as number 2, and then you have Zach Ertz as number 3. So you have trips to that side of the field, and Smallwood is in the backfield. So Wendell Smallwood's in the backfield. So that's the way this starts. But now, if you take that away, Fran, now we start the play, and you'll see that Jeffery shifts, not a motion, he shifts because he sets. And what you have right now is trips bunch to the boundary side of the field. And what they're going to do here, as I said, is they're going to run the flat 7. The flat receiver is Wendell Smallwood. The 7 receiver is Alshon Jeffery. And Aguilar and Ertz basically are just almost picking, working inside. They're not really part of the read for Nick Foles. Now, the other part of this is Foles will boot to the boundary. So this is boot action with the flat 7 combination. And the way you normally run this is if the flat route by the back, Wendell Smallwood, shows up immediately, you give him the ball and he ideally gets into the end zone at the front pylon. So let's run this now and see what happens. So you're going to see the boot action, but look what happens right here. The Redskins take away the flat throw to Smallwood. That's not there for Nick Foles. So what he has to do now is continue to roll out because that's the play. And what he's now looking for is Alshon Jeffery running the 7 route. And this is actually well defended by Josh Norman. This was not an easy throw, but let's play it out. And this was a really nice job. Foles has to keep going. You don't really want him throwing the ball outside the numbers, but that's where he had to make the throw. And then you saw the great catch. That's what Alshon Jeffery does so well, those contested, tough, physical, competitive catches.
Has had a couple really great catches here to start this game off. So the Eagles get on the board there into the end zone late in the second quarter. Makes this a 10-0 game going into halftime. All right, so let's get to the next touchdown pass from Nick Foles in the low red zone. And Greg, this week on Eagles Game Plan, we talked about the importance for the Eagles going into this game of attacking man coverage. The Washington Redskins, last time these two teams played a couple weeks ago, really played a lot of man, and the Eagles came prepared, a lot of those man beaters. Well, we see that here on this touchdown to Nelson Aguilar, the Eagles attacking man coverage. I want you to show us how they do that.
Well, this is 3rd and goal in the tight red zone. And the ball is what, at the 5.5, 6 yard line?
Yep.
So you're anticipating man coverage here clearly on 3rd down.
Sure.
You're not really going to play zone here. The Redskins would not anyway. So what you have here, we saw on the touchdown to Jeffery that they shifted to a tight bunch, remember?
That's right.
Well, here they're in a tight bunch to start. There's 3 receivers here. It's a tight bunch, what we call a nasty tight bunch because they're so close to the formation. But now, instead of staying with this on that side of the formation, what they're going to do is have Nelson Aguilar, he's going to motion across the formation. Now remember, this is man coverage. So someone, and it's also a formation indicator. You anticipate man, but you're never 100% sure. So it's a formation indicator as well when you motion him across the formation. So now let's do that. And what happens? Fabian Moreau, as we watch this and start the action, Fabian Moreau, the corner, works across the formation. So now freeze it here. This is perfect, okay? But Moreau is behind Aguilar. That's first and foremost. But now the Eagles add another element to this to make sure that Moreau can't respond well to this throw into the flat to Aguilar. They have Ertz, who is the single receiver to that side of the formation. He's just running on a bit of an angle, and he'll present kind of a natural rub or a natural pick for Moreau. So Moreau now has to work sort of behind Zach Ertz here. He can't get underneath him clearly, so he has to work behind him, which again slows him down and prevents him from getting to Aguilar in the right timing of the play.
Right.
So this is really well done. We can run this and you'll see that Aguilar is wide open, Moreau's late, and it's a touchdown. Another great design play in the red zone, tight red zone.
All right, let's wrap this up now, Greg, with the third touchdown pass of the day for the Eagles, the first of Nate Sudfeld's career in the NFL. This is going to be a touchdown from Nate Sudfeld to Nelson Aguilar. Break down exactly what we're going to see here on this play that puts the Eagles up 24-0.
It's a great call when you have a young quarterback coming in the game and you want to throw the ball. It's 2nd and 10. They decide they want to throw it. Yep. It's a very safe kind of play because it has some really cool elements, misdirection and deception involved, and that defines the throw. It's a one-read throw. Now look at where we start. Let's start with Nelson Aguilar, where he is up top. Aguilar right here is the Z receiver. He's off the line of scrimmage. But now what he's going to do is he's going to shift into the core of the formation. And normally when you do that, he presents, and let's show him doing that, shifting into the core of the formation. And then we can just freeze it as he gets there, right about here. Perfect. What essentially, he's just outside the core, but essentially that kind of shift puts him into the formation and presents to the defense as if he's a run blocker in a running play. That's the alert for the defense when that happens.
Sure.
Okay, so now that's where you start. So what they present to the defense here initially is they're going to take the O-line with outside zone run action to the right side, and in the backfield they're going to have sort of sweep action. So it's really an outside zone run just because of the shotgun and the offset back. It looks like sweep with the back action, but it's really outside zone going to the right side of the formation. So let's clear it and start this play. But what happens now is Aguilar works across the formation, frees it right about here. You get all the flow going to the right. That's the way the defense flows. It looks to them like a zone run. Aguilar behind the offensive line. Very difficult to pick him up now defensively. He just works across the formation, basically into the flat or an arrow type route, and he's wide open. So let's run it, and you see that this is all about misdirection, deception. It's a one-read, defined throw for Nate Sudfeld. By NFL standards, an easy throw, and it's another touchdown.
Yeah, so the Eagles take that lead now in the third quarter, up 24-0 at this point. And Greg, a blowout win. The Eagles going to the playoffs. So what are your overall thoughts now just walking away from watching this game on TV?
Well, they did what they had to do against an undermanned team. They played the kind of game that we hoped they would play. Offensively, it wasn't explosive and dynamic, but they had a number of long drives. The short passing game with Nick Foles in particular was really effective. He had obviously 25 straight completions. My guess is only 2 of those might have been more than 15, 17 yards. It was a sustaining passing game, and therefore they're able to protect, and he's not under stress, and they ran it just enough. But it was a really solid performance, the kind of performance that good teams give when they have to beat an opponent that's clearly undermanned.
Yeah, the Eagles taking care of business.
Yep.
The other team taking care of business. A little bit further out west, Chicago Bears going on the road, beating the Minnesota Vikings. So Eagles heading to Soldier Field. Early thoughts. You and I are going to break down, go really in depth into this matchup on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast. But a quick elevator speech for our viewers here.
Right.
What are your thoughts on this matchup with the Bears?
The Bears have a really good defense. They have as good a pass defense as there is for many reasons, which you and I will get into in detail. But the pass rush is number one. Yep. They have a dominant pass rush with a number of really good players. Everybody knows Khalil Mack. He's not the only one. They have a player who's very similar to Fletcher Cox in Akeem Hicks playing defensive tackle. And they're really difficult in the secondary because they blur the lines of their coverage concepts as well as any team in the league. And offensively, they're highly schemed. I mean, the reality is it's Matt Nagy. He came from the same coaching tree as Doug Peterson.
No question.
It's a highly schemed offense and a highly schemed passing game with a wild card player in Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, so we'll be breaking down this matchup, Greg and I, on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade. So keep an eye out for that on Monday afternoon, Monday evening, wherever you subscribe to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or on PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the Eagles mobile app. Till then, we'll see you next week, and we'll be back here for the All-22 review driven by AAA. For Greg Cosell, I'm Fran Duffy. We'll see you next week in the playoffs.